The winter storm wreaking havoc with Sunbelt basketball. It's Locked On Sunbelt.
You are Locked On Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of the podcast. We think the NCAA is completely lost. We'll talk about that. It may not be regarding Sunbelt players, but it eventually will be. And Troy survives in double overtime versus ODU. That was quite the basketball game in Norfolk. But first and foremost, we do want to say, please stay safe. This winter storm has hit Louisville as of yesterday. It took an hour to get from my house to just off the exit to where I work. That usually takes about 22 minutes. Believe you me, I know exactly how long it takes. Then it took I'm not even sure if it's 2 miles, maybe more like 2 minutes from the exit to where I drive into the distillery. That took 25 minutes. All right. That was ridiculous. So it's coming. And it's amazing. I think I saw a map today on Twitter/X, all the way from Arizona to New York. That's ridiculous. All right. And so I was alerted by a faithful listener that schedules were being changed. Who would ever think that a winter storm could affect the Sun Belt? Syracuse, for sure, although it takes a lot to prevent a game to happen in Syracuse. Obviously, they're much more equipped to handle it up there with snowplows. The problem with this storm coming is that it's ice. Can't do anything about that. You got to wait till it warms up to melt. And so we could have a lot of issues with that. And so having said that, we do have a multiple schedule changes. Let's see if we can see it here as I bring it up. All right. Probably I can put on my glasses. ULM and Marshall are playing Thursday at 11 a.m. So we got some day action coming on Thursday. I can't see with those glasses. The Cajuns are playing App State Thursday, and we actually got another change coming up here that came out a little bit, not since then, but I think it changed twice. ULM is at App State Friday. So ULM is playing Thursday and Friday. Cajuns playing App State on Thursday. And so App State is playing Thursday and Friday. South Alabama is at Marshall. That's a big ball game. All right. Texas State is at JMU. And the Cajuns and Old Dominion are postponing their matchup. The Cajuns want to get back home as quickly as possible. They think they could be stuck in Norfolk, just stuck, not able to get home due to the impending weather. Here in Louisville, they're saying the bad weather is going to start overnight, Friday night into Saturday, and maybe last until Monday. I will say the forecast has changed dramatically. Late last week and early this week, where I live in Louisville, was barely getting anything. Now we're somewhere between 18 and 24 inches. All right. I don't know how much ice that is going to be. All right. Also, I don't know if we expected sleet turning into freezing and turning into ice on Wednesday. That was the issue there, and multiple car accidents on the way to work. They did allow us to leave work early to get home safely. So that was a good job by them. But you can see this all changes a lot. Again, athletes are creatures of habit. The other thing, obviously, the safety is much more important than playing a ball game. Okay. And a lot of these teams now are flying, right? They're going to fly, and they're not going to be able to fly in not airports that are closed. And you certainly don't want to be traveling during a winter storm and trying to land as all the ice is mounting on the wings. Of course not. So the safety is first and foremost for these players. And, we can see if anyone's driving. I'm trying to find the I just want to do that. All right. Okay. Let me check out the rest of the schedule, see if anybody could be driving. Like if it was Monroe was playing the Cajuns, then they would be driving, right? Maybe Marshall and JMU, they would be driving. All right. So South Alabama's playing JMU. They're not driving. Monroe's playing Marshall. They ain't driving. These are Thursday's action. All right. Cajuns at App State not driving. Southern Miss at Georgia State. Maybe. Arkansas State at Georgia Southern. No. And Texas State at Coastal Carolina. No. All right. Let's see what we got for Saturday. South Alabama's at Marshall. Texas State at JMU. Southern Miss at Coastal Carolina. Arkansas State at Georgia State. Troy at Georgia Southern. They may be I don't know if they're driving. So they're in Norfolk. They're going to fly. They got to fly to Atlanta and then go to Georgia Southern. And the Cajuns aren't playing Old Dominion until February. So we'll see if this has anything to do with, again, these athletes are creature of habits. At the same time, it's not a bad break. You're kind of getting into the dog days of the season, and you may get a little bit of extra rest time. They only play twice a week, but nonetheless, you get a little bit of rest time to heal up a little bit and make that last run to get a good seeding in the Sun Belt Conference tournament. There's one ball game I wanted to tell you about. It's coming up. It's a few weeks away. It is going to be in that MAC matchup Saturday, February 7th. All right. And this is a huge ball game, much more for the opponent than for the Sun Belt team. But it's a great opportunity for the Sun Belt team if it lasts. Okay. This is going to be the day before the Super Bowl. Marshall is hosting Miami of Ohio. Miami of Ohio is 20-0. They may be the last remaining undefeated team. So it is a few games away. Miami has 3 games before that. They play UMass on the 27th if they get these in. UMass isn't bad. They're 12-8, but 3-5 in the MAC. Bowling Green. Then they play Bowling Green. Bowling Green is also not bad. 13-6, 4-3 in the MAC. And then they play Eastern Michigan, which is 9-10. They're 3-4 in the MAC. So they're not great. So those are all going to be matchups before Marshall gets the ball game against Miami, and that very well could be nationally televised. Miami coming as of right now, Miami is 8-0 on the road. Marshall is 9-2 at home. All right. Miami has had a couple really tough calls as of lately. After blowing out Central Michigan 100-61, they held off Buffalo 105-102 in overtime. 2 teams combined for 31 points in overtime. And then they beat Kent State 107-101 in a ball game, also in overtime. Kent State scored 58 second-half points to force overtime. Miami outscored them 15-9 in OT. So that ball game is coming up. We'll keep an eye on that. Obviously, some of us may be concentrating a little bit more on the Super Bowl, but we'll have something to look forward to with Marshall taking on a potentially undefeated, would be 23-0 Miami Redhawks. So that would be a lot of fun, and you would think it would get a whole lot of Marshall Thundering Herd fans in for that one. Okay. The NCAA is absolutely lost. We've been talking about the transfer portal. Let's dive back into that again, because the NCAA actually won a lawsuit, if you can imagine that. We'll talk about that next after I tell you about TurboTax. Tax season doesn't have to take over your life. This year, TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on with your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert, start to finish, without the stress or guesswork. Instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. They handle everything from W-2s to self-employed forms and work to get you every deduction. You can upload your documents, go about your day, and get updates right in the TurboTax app. It's a huge time saver and gives you real peace of mind knowing an expert is handling it. For a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th this season. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit TurboTax.com/local to book your appointment today. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Now, the next story, next segment is going to focus on, some Power 4 players, but don't question it is coming to the Sunbelt. Okay. And I'm sure people in Louisiana, as everybody with the G5 is going to be, we talked about it, I think, maybe an episode or two ago. All right. But the NCAA actually won a court case. All right. Darian Mensah, the former Tulane quarterback, went to Duke, was ACC champion, Duke Blue Devil quarterback, right? Beat Virginia. Okay. And that allowed JMU to get into the college football playoff. All right. Well, he hit the transfer portal last day of the transfer portal after already signing his deal. He was going back to Duke. Okay. Unfortunately for Duke, that leaves them in a tough spot because their backup QB had left, and they didn't think they needed a QB because Darian Mensah had already committed. Well, he bailed. Okay. So they went to court. NCAA lost. Darian Mensah won. But the lawyer was a Duke, or not the lawyer, the judge apparently was a Duke fan. So somehow they went to another court and they got a temporary restraining order, TRO, where they won. The NCAA won. And is stopping Darian Mensah from moving on because he's got a contract. He can't get any NIL money from anybody else but Duke, and he can't enroll into another college. He can't do anything, all right? Temporarily, we'll see where that goes. Now, where this comes into me a little bit, Charles Bediako played college basketball, was a really good college basketball player, great defender, shot blocker, played on the Brandon Miller Alabama basketball team that I think, did they even get to the Sweet 16? I think they lost second round, all right? They had some off-court issues they had to deal with. Didn't involve Charles Bediako, all right? Didn't involve Brandon Miller, but not Charles Bediako. Nonetheless, Bediako was drafted by the Spurs, two-way player, went to the G League, played in the G League. He left Alabama in the 22-23 season. Alabama is trying to get him eligible. He gained some sort of, again, eligibility, and Alabama is going to have to figure out what to do with him. I don't think it's going to stand because the NCAA said you got 5 years to play for, and once you go pro, you can't go back. And now these players are suing to go back. Guess where the court was that allowed Charles Bediako to come back? Oh, Tuscaloosa County. What a shock that the judge may or may not be connected to, wait for it, the University of Alabama. So in one case, it was held against the court that the judge was a Duke fan because they want to leave Duke. But now that we want to play for Alabama, we're going to go get a judge that is in favor of that. What a shock. Nonetheless, this is going to end up trickling down to the Sun Belt. And I am as much pro player as you can get. It's not the worst thing in the world if these guys want to come back and play college basketball so they can get education, but that's not why they're coming back. All right, let's be honest. All right, they're coming back to get paid. All right. Charles Bediako should not have gone pro when he did. He needed a lot of work offensively, more of a garbage man. Offensive rebounds, a great defensive rebounder, great shot blocker, but not really creating any of his own shots. All right. He needed another year in college, but maybe needed the money nonetheless. And so now, I mean, the NCAA is just a mess. All right. It is a wild, wild west. I think Lane Kipp, I heard LSU's gotten 40 new additions. I have no idea how much money that is. Apparently, media partners are putting money into that. Remember, $20 million with the rev share is supposed to be for all of the athletes. All right. So that would include baseball, basketball, gymnastics at LSU. All right. Some of them have the best NIL deals going. So the NCAA is completely lost. We'll see when it affects the Sun Belt, because it will. All right. Some players going to say, I want to go back to school again. And they're going to go to court and probably win temporarily. They shouldn't. Like I said, I am all for the players staying as long as you can. All right. Again, we've mentioned this. If you can go to JV or junior college and do a couple of years there, but that doesn't count towards your 4-year schooling, and then you get a grad year as well. I mean, somewhere along the way, again, you could end up with a law school degree that you didn't pay a dime for and have some money in the bank, and you're all set after you leave college. We're not talking about the high-end guys that are getting millions of dollars, right? Okay. That's not what we're talking about. So I don't have a problem with that, but once you go pro, you go pro. You can't go back. You can't go back. And that's what they're just trying to change the rules as they see fit. We're just gonna throw it up against the wall and see what sticks. And so far, the NCAA apparently won the Duke battle. We'll see how that ends up. As they say, it's a very fluid situation. And they lost the Bediako situation. But Alabama maybe have to be careful, because if they play him and all of a sudden he's deemed ineligible after the fact, and maybe the NCAA warned Alabama not to do it because we'll eventually get to a court that finds in our favor, that'll be interesting to see how Nate Oates deals with that. But we know we're going to find it here. It's going to hit JMU. It's going to hit the Cajuns. It's going to hit Old Dominion. It's going to hit Marshall. Someone's going to sue the Sun Belt, a Sun Belt school. And my point is that the NCAA is lost. They got to, if you were actually, the thing is, and I know we have a ton of stuff going on, okay? We have a ton of stuff going on. But if, as a congressman or congresswoman, whatever, you could actually get something done. And everyone would be a big fan if you could just clear out the chaos. I like the chaos when one team loses and that brings in 8 other teams. I don't like the chaos of who's eligible, when they're eligible, why they're eligible. They keep on moving from school to school to school to school. It's not good for anybody. And so if you get a couple people in Congress who can figure out what to do, it's not like they're passing any laws anyways. But you could probably get a lot of, shockingly, bipartisan support for something that makes sense for everybody. Right? Who represents the players in that case, I do not know, because they'll go to coaches, and the coaches are only going to be concerned with what's best for the coaches and the schools, not for the players. That's the only problem with that. So by the time you get to collectively bargaining, that means they have to unionize, and that's a whole different deal. So that's years down the road. You could pass something rather quicker if you did it in Congress, but they don't seem to have an appetite for it at all. All right. And the last person I want to write a law on how college players deal or how colleges deal with college players is having Tommy Tuberville do it. That's the last guy I want to have. Now he's running for governor, so maybe they get it together and he's out of there by the time they pass it, but that wouldn't be until next year as well. So, so we'll see how that goes. Okay. In terms of college basketball, in terms of on the court, how about Troy surviving in double overtime against Old Dominion, a ball game the Monarchs probably should have won. Talk about it right after I tell you about the Everydayer Club. Thank you for making Locked On Sunbelt your first listen of the day. And thank you for making Locked On the #1 sports podcast network. You already love your Sunbelt team every day. Now take it up a level and go ad-free. Join the Everydayer Club today and get Locked On Sunbelt with no interruptions, members-only Discord access, and more. All for just $5 a month or $50 a year. Save a few bucks if you do the annual subscription. Go to lockedonsunbelt.supercast.com or check the link in the show notes to learn more. Also, continued thanks for supporting the channel. We do continue to increase. We're getting ever so closer to 2890 subscribers. Still trying to get to that 3,000 mark. If we can get 3,000 by baseball season, which is 3 weeks from tomorrow, it would be sincerely appreciated. All right, Dave Schultz, Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. All right, the only game in the Sunbelt on Wednesday was Troy taking on Old Dominion, about a 6.5-point spread. And Troy's really good. Old Dominion battles. I picked Old Dominion I picked Troy in this one, actually, to win and to cover. And they missed a free throw at the end for the backdoor cover. So that's those things. That's a half a point. There you go. 83-77 in double overtime. Old Dominion didn't get a shot off to force. Was it the first overtime? Let me see. Yes, to force or to in regulation. They didn't get a shot off in regulation. They got blocked. And then Troy missed a wide open three at the end of the first overtime, and that's how they got to the second overtime. Although at the end of regulation, Thomas Dowd did make a jumper to tie things up 64-64. Now, a lot of these stats are close, as you would imagine. One thing is not close is the free throws. Troy, 29 out of 34. ODU missed 7, and my understanding is a few of the 1-and-1s, 18 out of 25. So, again, the misses are about the same, 5-7, but Troy made 11 more free throws, attempted 9 more free throws. So, yeah, so they made 11. They only missed 5. Troy or ODU missed 7 free throws. They did get the rebounding was a big edge for Troy, 47-37. But ODU did a good job staying in this ballgame. Didn't even shoot threes all that well, 3 of 18. Robert Davis Jr. had a bad ballgame, right? He averages almost 11 points a ballgame, and he got 1. 0 for 8 from the floor, 0 for 7 from 3, 1 of 2 from the free throws. It was a Shaw who carried the team. Ketron Shaw had 34 points on 14 out of 22 field goals. The problem is he was 6 of 10 from the free throw line. That's a problem. When you compare that to the Troy guys, Theo Sang, 10 of 10 from the free throw line. All right. Victor Valdez, 14 out of 18 from the free throw line. And Valdez did not have a good ball game after he was the Sun Belt Offensive Player of the Week. I mean, he finishes with 21 points because of his free throws, but he's 3 of 15 from the floor, 1 of 5 from 3. So Old Dominion did a really good job defending Troy for the most part, because most of these points came from the free throw line. All right, or almost half. Valdez and Sang combined for 45 points. 24 of them were from the line. Right? Thomas Dowd didn't light it up, although he did have 15 rebounds. He had 12 points. The Campbell brothers combined for 18. They only shot 37%. I mean, Old Dominion did a number on Troy offensively. They needed 10 extra points, 10 extra minutes, I should say, to get those 83 points, which is about their average. Old Dominion shot it 44%. So they missed some free throws, and usually the reliable Robert Davis Jr. didn't have a good game. Troy obviously had something to do with that as well. So Troy ends up improving. Let's get to another page. They improved to 14-6 and 7-1 in the Sun Belt. Old Dominion drops to 6-15, 3-6 in the Sun Belt. So you do have Troy 7-1, Georgia Southern 5-2, Southern Miss 5-3, South Alabama, Arkansas State, Marshall, and Georgia State all 4-4. So a big 4-way tie for fourth place. All right. And then again, you do have some big matchups this tonight, and then on Saturday if those games get played. All right. I mean, again, weather is fluid. They may decide. They may decide to just scrap Friday and or Saturday. But the hits keep on coming for the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns. They lose what was really their bright spot for the season, and it's a tough blow. Josh Lewis was their bright spot for the season. He was a 4-star recruit from Florida, and he was playing pretty well. All right. Again, we all expect these 4-stars to just be, again, Anthony Davis or Carmelo Anthony or John Wall or any of these really super freshmen. And sometimes it takes a minute to get used to what's going on. But, in 22 and a half minutes, he was averaging 8 points a ball game, grabbing 4 rebounds. But I think he was even doing better. Let me see his game log. I think he just came off a big ball game against ULM. He did. He had 26 points against ULM. He had 3 straight of double figures. He had 11 against South Alabama. He had 12 against Southern Miss. He had 26 against ULM. And then he got hurt against Troy, and he only got 5 in 24 minutes of play. And that's just a bad blow for the Cajuns. It has been bad. They've had numerous guys go down, and it's a torn knee. So the only thing you can hope for is that he comes back healthy next year, because people are going to come after him with some cash. My understanding is that Quantas White and the Cajuns put in a lot of money into this team. Obviously, some guys got hurt. So they're not getting their ROI back in this team. We hope they come back. But you could have a Darian Mensah situation where he just decides, that team that just played for the national championship is offering me more money. We'll see how that goes. All right. Now, Josh Lewis coming off a knee injury. So, it's a lot of times those are a year, but it could also be, if you're going to play in the season is starting in the end of we'll just say November. Well, that's about 9 months, or no, 10 months. Well, depending on when it starts. But you go through October, that he's got, that's 9.5 months is where we are. So that's a really tough break for the Cajuns and Josh Lewis. We do wish him well, and we do hope that he comes back to play for the Cajuns, because he could, now he gets to work on the rest of his body, get bigger and stronger, maybe more athletic, and have a really spectacular sophomore year. So we'll see how that all plays out. Okay, moving forward, we do have already on the books, although not in the can, not yet anyways, 7 scheduled interviews with college baseball coaches in the Sun Belt. So that's half. That's pretty good. All right. We're going to probably play some over the weekend and then probably recap the basketball on Monday. And then we can have some more later on. And hopefully either by Wednesday or by the end of the week, we'll have all of them done. And so I can schedule them and preview them. So I do have about half the league. I think I got 4 tomorrow, or maybe 3 tomorrow. And then, no, I got 4 tomorrow. I got 4. I'm sorry. As it turns out, I got 4 today. I got 4 on Thursday, 3 next Wednesday. Of course, I'm always available in the evenings if they want to do it after practice. But I got 4 interviews today. So we're going to preview the Sun Belt Conference. I'm going to learn about some of these. We got Ford Pemberton, new coach, and then try to learn who some of these new players are, and try to figure out what is what with these teams. But just to let you know, we've got 7 scheduled. That doesn't mean they're all coming. Just saying things happen. All right. And so we got 7 scheduled over the next week. And so we'll see if we can schedule the next 7 and have them all done by the time it plays, because obviously we want to have 1 episode per coach. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. You've been watching a Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Please stay safe. I know a lot of people are in direct, area for this storm coming. It's going to land on my head. Everyone just please stay safe. If you are traveling, take it very, very slow. All right. It's not a big rush to get there. It's really important for you to get there safely. All right. Otherwise, please keep on tuning in and subscribe to Locked On Sunbelt. Do appreciate it. Have a great Thursday, everybody. We'll talk to you again on Friday.